Hi, I'm Professor Stephanie, and in this video we're going to look at line, shape, value, which are elements of design, and then we're going to pause and put some of this together in a composition using some of the principles of design. So starting up here, we have our shapes, a square, a circle, and a triangle, and they were made with line, and line is going from dot to dot. So I'm going to start with a triangle, and I'm going to demonstrate how I like to use dots to create my shapes, and I'm going to make a row of them, and I'm practicing with my eye with the dots to get the shape that I want, and I am looking ahead from one dot to the next as I draw to do my drawing, to create my line. So here are triangles, and let's add some value. Value is going from light to dark, and I work with design drawing, which has a certain style, and you can see I'm going to start, this is adding value to the second triangle, and I'm going to touch the one line and touch the other to create my value. So I'm going to work with a gradated scale from light to dark, and I'm going to repeat this in my triangle the same as I did before, adding these lines, touching, and to make it darker I'm going to go in between these lines, and this is how I like to do this. I have found this to be a great way to make lines that are closer together, is to start with them a little bit apart and then put them together. Then in the last one, we're going to repeat the same as we did before, but we're actually going to do what's called cross hatching, which we'll go in the opposite direction with our line, and that's going to work on creating an even darker value in the triangle. So as you can see, I've created a gradation of value from very light white to dark, and I'm probably going to play around with this more to get it darker. Again, repeating my diagonal lines, going in between the in-between lines, and creating light to dark. Alright, let's jump up to the square, or actually the rectangle, and as you can see I'm going to continue with using what I call my guide dots. It's a great way to practice your freehand drawing. This is our goal, is to not only gain confidence, but to learn some of the ways that you can support yourself as you're learning to draw. So again, I'm going to just have a row of the same shape, a rectangle. I'm correcting a little bit there with my dot. And what I want to do this time is to add some pattern. And we've been working pretty rectilinear, geometric, and you can always add swirly, curly. This is just, I'm using one continuous line to get a little bit of a fun pattern in there. Stippling is another technique for adding pattern. We are adding value. As you can see, the center of the space is changing. And I'm going to let you play around with that also. I'll probably go back and finish that up. Zigzag pattern is another technique for creating interest, adding, and again, all we've done is line, and then also we have our dot. Great, and I might go back and fill in with that. Circles are challenging for me. Honestly, I've been working a long time to create circles. This time I have 4 dots, as you can see, that are helping me. These are guides so that I'm moving my eye ahead to create these circles. They're a little cattywampus, discombobulated, as I say. But there we go, pretty good. Again, this is a place for me to play around with pattern, and this time I'm going to use a broken line. Alright, so there are many different ways that you can be adding. Here's a zigzag that's really close, smaller. Got this going again. With the circle, sometimes I work at an angle. So this is another way to add some value. And then adding a curvilinear line here. So in review, we've used dots and lines to create shapes, and these are elements of design. So we're going to pause, and I'm going to let you take a minute out and add your shapes and any kind of pattern you like. I'm just giving you some ideas. Important part. So let's talk a little bit about composition. We've got 4 rectangular shapes here, which I've added using sort of as a place to add some other shapes and put them together. Composition is a way that we arrange things, and this is about shape placement, the location of shapes. To start off with, we have a negative space, which is the large rectangular shape, and then I've put circles in there, which are the positive shapes. So we want to be thinking about both where the circles are, and then also what kind of shape does that make for the background or the negative shape. And with the circles, these I just plopped on that background. Not very interesting. On this one, I overlapped a couple of circles. That made it a little bit more interesting. I added pattern. And then on the third one down here, I made the negative space a darker value. And these circles actually don't touch each other either, although I think there's still some interest in that. What I want to do just to see is I'm going to go back to this particular design composition, and I'm going to make these darker to see how that makes a difference in the interest of this composition. And I'm hoping that you will take these 4 shapes and play around, your rectangular places that are the negative, and add positive shapes. I use circles. You don't need to use circles. You could use whatever you'd like. And create 4 compositions that you can be playing around with the idea of overlapping the shapes, having different sizes, having a variety of size, and then the idea of adding pattern.